I must apologize for Wimp Lo. He is an idiot. We have purposely trained him wrong, as a joke.
If you've got an ass, I'll kick it!
If it's possible to understand why Game Freak made Geeta's team so weak for a champion, I want to second this. Considering she's La Primera, the number 1, it makes sense for her ace to be a Pokemon that's a king that's also a new Pokemon in the game. And 2 of her Pokemon that were actually good or decent were sent out in reverse order. As somebody who is supposedly not holding back, she seemed to be doing a lot of holding back. I think Cynthia would be an awesome topic, but I agree with people asking about Geeta too. Alright. I guess there's a good amount of confusion regarding Geeta. Enough to make me make a video on it. Sorry Starmie, maybe you'll get your chance another day. So by this point, I'm fairly sure most people have finished the main game of Scarlet and Violet, and it is commonly agreed that Geeta is arguably one of the least liked champions to date. People have even gone on to say she is the objectively worst champion that's ever been created across the entire franchise. And there are countless content creators out there who also share and maintain this same point of view. However, I actually kind of hold a different opinion. I actually think Geeta is kind of alright. Heck, if I were to rank all of the champions across the franchise to date, Geeta wouldn't even be anywhere near the bottom of that list. That'd be this guy. From a game design standpoint, Geeta was designed to fulfill a designated role within the overall game, and she succeeds at fulfilling that one role with flying colors. I feel that many players have failed to realize just what exactly the game designers have pulled off here regarding Geeta. Normally I prefer talking about the oddities of older Pokemon games, since I figured that most content creators should be familiar with the franchise enough to critically examine modern games by now. But I guess everybody's just having too much fun trashing on Geeta to properly stop and think about the hows and whys of her game design. So let's begin with this. A video speaking in defense of La Primera, Paldea's top champion Geeta. I'll explain what is Geeta's actual role within the game's overall design and detail how she manages to accomplish that. Alright, let's get this out of the way. Geeta's champion team is weak.
No, I am not weak. I'm not weak. I am not weak.
If you try to argue otherwise, you either went in unprepared, accidentally screwed yourself by super buffing her Espatra, or are huffing some real copium. There's no reason for you to really be losing this fight. This gets brought up in nearly every discussion regarding Geeta, so I'll explain it only briefly. In a nutshell, there are 3 core criticisms regarding this battle, all of which are legitimate. Firstly, half of her team are seemingly filler and useless. Secondly, her King Gambit has a unique ability that makes it stronger as more party members are KO'd, yet is always sent out partway through the battle and thus never fully maximizes that ability. And lastly, her ace, Glimora, has a unique gimmick of deploying toxic spikes, yet is always sent out last and thus completely wasted. The end result of all this is that Geeta looks like a complete idiot that fails to take advantage of her own Pokemon's baseline foundational playstyles, which appear obvious even to the most casual players. To put simply, for a character who gets hyped up as a strong battler who never holds back, Geeta seems to be doing a lot of holding back. And that's the key to the whole mystery. Geeta is just being held back by design. You see, in other games, the designated gameplay role of a champion is to serve as either the final boss of their respective game, or as an optional bonus super boss hidden away somewhere in the post-game, or sometimes both. In order to fulfill these roles, champions are usually designed with multiple powerful Pokemon on their teams, some of which have never been seen before by the player prior to that battle, making them both challenging to overcome while also introducing cool and unexpected new Pokemon to keep players on their toes. Geeta is unique among champions in that she isn't designed with this goal in mind. She isn't the final boss of Scarlet and Violet. Heck, she isn't even the final boss of the Victory Route storyline. And this is Geeta's actual design goal, to act as the decoy final boss. This is why her battle performance is so poor. It's because she was never intended to be a difficult fight from the outset. She's meant to fulfill the story and in-universe duties of the region's champion, but not the gameplay duty of serving as her region's final boss fight. Narratively, she serves as a climax to the Victory Road storyline, but design-wise is intended as a simple obstacle for the player to overcome so that they can move on to the Victory Road story's actual final boss in Nemona and the true final challenge in Area Zero. Don't believe me? Well, here's my evidence. Firstly, levels. These are a fairly obvious indicator of what is the order of progression expected by the designers. Geeta's team clocks in at levels 61 to 62, which puts her on par with Arven, Penny, and totally not Director Clavel in a wig, the final battles of the other two story paths. This implies that all three were designed with the expectation of being fought around the same time as each other. However, Nemona clocks in at levels 65 to 66, meaning she is expected to be fought after defeating all of the others, which means that Geeta is forced to play second banana to Nemona by design. Secondly, story. Most people don't pay attention to story in Pokemon games, so I don't blame them for overlooking this, but to be fair, narrative does play a big role in dictating the flow of a game. Now, do you remember what was the story for the Victory Road path? It's not that you wanted to be champion, it's that Nemona wants you to become a champion. In most other games, the champion title represents a finish line, the end of your journey which you are working towards. But that was never the case in Scarlet and Violet. The entire League storyline was all about Nemona enacting the Pokemon battle equivalent of Murasaki Shikibu's Hikaru Genji plan. If she can't find a worthy rival anywhere, then she'll raise her own. Notice how in every battle the two of you have, the game uses the title Pokemon Trainer for Nemona. Since the game's start, Nemona has never viewed you as a rival at all. She's already the strongest trainer in Paldea, and you definitely aren't pushing her to improve at all. It's only after you defeat Geeta that Nemona's title changes to Champion, the traditional title of most other Pokemon final bosses. This is the finale which the story had been building up to. Throughout your entire journey, you repeatedly encounter Nemona, who checks in on you, cheers you on, and expresses delight at seeing your eventual growth. She's excited at the prospect of you developing into a trainer that can equal her. In contrast, you only ever see Geeta a handful of times, and she never really does anything that significant. I guess she gives you Terra Blast, but yeah. If you remember how other champions like Steven, Cynthia, or Alder interact with you across your journeys, you'll come to realize that Nemona is basically fulfilling the same narrative role as them. Narratively speaking, Nemona is the true final objective, and Geeta and the League are just a stepping stone along this journey, which is unlike other games where the League represents the end point. This is the reason why Geeta is so weak. It's because she was never intended to be difficult. Despite being the top champion, she herself is not supposed to be the game's final boss champion. Nemona is. This is why Nemona's final battle at Mesagoza, how do you pronounce this? Mesagoza is a visually exciting battlefield full of cinematic flair, whereas the League battles all take place in a boring and plain looking room. So now that we understand that Geeta is intended to be weak, her team makes sense. It's a team designed around being thematically interesting. Power wasn't a priority consideration at all when putting it together. Her ace Glimora is the most apparent illustration of this. If the Pokemon world ever held a pet and owner lookalike contest, these two would win it. Second place going to Lysander and his Pyro. It isn't clear who got designed first, but it's fairly evident they were destined to be together from the early stages of design. The rest of her team is also thematically fun. Each represents one of the 5 major biomes of Paldea, with Glimora representing Area Zero. Espathra roam the desert highlands, Kingambit lead Bishop and Pawniards in the bamboo forest, Go-Goat is a grass-eating grass goat from the grasslands, Veluza are the most memorably irritating thing from the lake, and Avalugg is a literal upside-down frozen mountain. This focus on being thematic is also why she fails at using Glimora's ability. The team is all about representing your journey through Paldea, and since Area Zero is the last unexplored zone, Glimora has to be sent out last, serving as both a sign of what's to come next, and also as a memorable surprise never before seen Pokemon for the player. This big focus on team over power extends to the rest of the Paldean Elite Four as well. The small child Poppy raises big steel Pokémon, with her ace being the tiny Tinkaton. The cool, down-to-earth Rika owns ground types, which sets up a cute gap appeal with her dopey ace Clodsire. By the way, the fan artists love these two. The stoic yet emotionally vulnerable Hassel tames an ice dragon Baxcalibur, who has a powerful signature move that also renders it vulnerable. And the depressed and boring Larry is ironically surrounded by vibrant and exotic flying types, including a literal cheerleader bird and a bright pink flamingo, with the sole exception being his ace Staraptor, a boring early root bird and import from his gym leader team. In general, the design focus of the Paldea League this round is all about expressing personality over being a tough fight, and in that aspect I'd say they succeeded. I think this is probably my favorite league as a group out of all of the games. While they weren't challenging, I greatly enjoyed the experience of fighting them because their teams and interactions were so enjoyable to see. So, where does that leave us with Geeta? Is there anything we can change to salvage her? Honestly, no, I wouldn't change much. Her team is thematically fun enough that there's relatively little to alter without compromising on something. Maybe I'd switch out Golgoat for an Arboliva and Veluza for fellow Lake Dweller Gyarados. But I feel like the other four are already great fits. Geeta's difficulty feels quite appropriate for being the penultimate challenge of one of the 3 story routes. Personally, I think the real fix she needs is to get another bonus boss battle, a second chance if you will, but with greatly improved movesets and items equipped. This time leading with a Glimora like how Bugsy and Guzma do. Hopefully the DLC will give her a well-deserved redemption in that regards, but who knows. At any rate, I doubt this video will ever really change anyone's opinion on her, but I genuinely do feel that the finer points of Geeta's boss design get seriously overlooked. And perhaps that's just a natural consequence of succeeding at being a decoy final boss. Geeta is weak, no questions about that, but she's intended to be weak by design, to simultaneously serve as both a step towards the game's real final challenges, while also concealing them from us. While she might be pathetically weak compared to most other champions, her difficulty is well scaled to her intended game design role as the penultimate final challenge and decoy final boss. And within that role, she played out her part with excellence. Hey, good job making it all the way to the end. What are your own thoughts on Geeta though? I'm expecting to see a wide variation in the comments for this video, maybe even a few controversial ones. At any rate, I hope you at least enjoyed the video. If you did, leave me a like to show your appreciation, and feel free to suggest what topic I should cover the next time. Until then, have a good night.